Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I wanted to do a 3-month postpartum update for you guys and kind of go over everything that happened, right after I had my daughter to now. We're at the 3-month mark, almost 4 months January 25th will be 4 months. So things have just flown by, and I figured I would just kind of do an update with you guys, really focusing a lot of this on postpartum depression and anxiety. This is something that I struggling with currently. And so I think it's just really important to talk about it and to be transparent about it. So that's what a lot of this video is going to be about. I do ask that, obviously, that everyone is respectful, but this is just a really hard topic to talk about, and it's hard to open up about it, but I do think it's really important. I think that just sharing my truth and sharing my experience, if that can help another person, then it's obviously worth it to me. This is just a topic that I feel like wasn't really on my brain when I was pregnant or had my daughter. I just didn't think that it was going to be something that affected me. So we'll get into that, but that is kind of what this video is going to be heavily about, because in the past 3 months, it's what I've dealt with the most. Sorry, I keep looking down. I am looking at the monitor because she is taking a nap right now. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. I will be kind of looking at my phone too, just for notes and reference. So let's just jump right in. So starting out, right after I had her, talking about like the physical recovery aspect, I would say, she's making noise. This is life with a newborn. You think you have time and you don't have time. We're gonna have to come back to this at her next nap. Hours later, let's get into it. So, starting from right after I had her, my recovery, I was really lucky that I had a really easy recovery. My labor and delivery was pretty easy as well, so I was pretty fortunate with that. So hours after I had her, I was up and walking around after like the epidural wore off. So that was really great. I mean, being able just to move and walk around, but I really wasn't too bad. I was really concerned about the recovery physically, what that was going to be like, and also like, you just like don't know what to expect, right? Like your first time having a baby, you hear all these things, and I only had a minor tear, so that was fine. You're obviously bleeding, so that's expected, but it wasn't like I anticipated. Like it wasn't as crazy as I thought it was going to be. But yeah, so I had a really good recovery. I was walking around hours later, and then actually the next day I was able to shower. I put on makeup, like just to make myself feel a little bit more like myself. So I was able to do all of that, and then we went home that day. So we only stayed in the hospital for 2 nights, Thursday into Friday having her, and then Friday, and then we left Saturday. So when I got home, my recovery was pretty much the same, really easy. I was really fortunate for that. The postpartum things that I definitely used the Dermaplast. I probably used that for like a good 2 weeks. I used Tux like the first week, and I did not use, which I was surprised, I did not use the Freedom Peri bottle. I used the one from the hospital. I just thought it was easy and just what worked. So yeah, those are like the things that I really use the most. Also too, the hospital like mesh undergarments, I really like them. So definitely take things from the hospital. Like they have extra things to give you. Take them home with you. You will need them. After the hospital, like mesh shorts, I switched to like these Depend. Let me see what they are actually. Okay, finally, like 1,000 years later, I found it. It's the Depend silhouette. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see. Those to me were the best ones. They literally felt just like underwear. I tried the Playtex ones. They felt like wearing a diaper. These are like form fitted and they were just amazing. So I highly recommend those. I loved those. So yeah, my recovery overall was pretty good. The only thing that kind of sucked for me was I did bleed for a long time. I feel like a lot of people say that they stop after like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I had to like push back my checkup because of how much I was bleeding still. So I think I bled for like 7, 8 weeks. And maybe like the 8th week I had gotten my cycle again. So yeah, that's something I wasn't really that prepared for, was like just the length, and it wasn't like heavy the whole time by any means, but it was just like more than I anticipated. But anyway, so that was like my immediate recovery and what that was like. Jumping into breastfeeding. So again, this is like a really touchy subject, I know, but I did try to breastfeed and we were successful with it for maybe like 2 weeks. The issue we had was that she couldn't latch directly on to me, so we had to use a shield, and if you're not familiar with them, look into it if you're expecting and thinking about breastfeeding. I wish I would have known a little bit more about this. I did look into breastfeeding and did a lot of research because this was something that I wanted so badly. This was like one of the hardest things postpartum for me, was kind of grieving the fact that I wasn't gonna get to have that experience with her like I had dreamt of. And I did a lot of research on breastfeeding. I did, all of my due diligence, I thought, but this was something I wasn't really anticipating, was that in order for her to latch, I would have to use a shield. And she did initially, but the downside of it is, the baby is crying and getting flustered and hungry, and you have to like get yourself all set up, and then you have to put this shield on and then get the baby to latch onto the shield. The shield has to like be suctioned to you, and sometimes it loses its suction and it falls out, and then the baby gets frustrated. It's just like this. It's just like an extra thing when you're already trying to figure out like how to be a mom, how to breastfeed, like all these other things that are happening, and like it was just one more thing that was really frustrating. So it just didn't work out, and then she wasn't getting enough milk, so we had to kind of supplement with formula. And then once we introduced formula to her, she had a really bad reaction, and then we found out that she has like a milk protein allergy, which is common apparently. So now she is on a formula that is milk protein free, and it was working out great. She's gaining weight, she's wonderful, and that's all you really can ask for. Like, I know that, but it was just something that I kind of had to grieve and like come to terms with, that I wasn't going to be able to do that with her and have that experience that I wanted so badly. But in between, I did pump and I did do that. That's another thing I kind of want to touch on though, is that I did pump and I did give her breast milk that way, all of the colostrum and everything. But then we found out that she had that milk protein allergen. So my breast milk that I had pumped is not good for her because I was eating dairy, because we didn't know. So I have a freezer full of breast milk now, and I'm looking into donating it because I don't want it to go to waste. Literally, it is, when people say it's liquid gold, it is liquid gold for many reasons, but one of the reasons being it is a pain in the ass to pump. And especially in the beginning, you have to pump like every 2 hours. It's exhausting. And I remember saying to my husband, like, I feel like I'm spending more time with this freaking pump than I am with the baby. And like, I just felt like I wasn't spending enough time with her because I was so worried about having enough milk for her and pumping, and like, is she gonna eat, and like, just like all that. And it was just a lot. It's like an added pressure that you're putting on yourself. And so finally, when we found out the whole dairy thing and the milk protein allergen, I just was like, I think we just need to like switch to formula. I need to take a minute. Me and her need to like bond, and I need to not be so stressed out about breast milk and pumping and all of that. So that's what we did, and honestly it was the best decision that I think we could have made, because I wasn't so stressed out with something else on top of like being a new mom and like figuring her out. Like there's already a lot of like stress and added things that are happening, and you're recovering still from giving birth, that was just like one thing that I didn't need the stress of. So it's unfortunate. I am still really sad about it. I just wish that I could have done it. And I know like people can sit there and say that, well, you should have tried harder, or you should have, talked to a lactation consultant. I did do that. I contacted them multiple times. Like, we looked into this and it just wasn't for us. And to each their own, and that's all I'm gonna say about it. So a fed baby is best, and I don't regret it because it was the best thing for her and she's healthy. So that's that topic. So with that being said, getting into the kind of the heart of the video is really talking about postpartum. So I did not expect to get hit with postpartum depression and anxiety like I did. I feel like you hear about it and it's something that, people go through, and to the extent that people go through it is something that I think it varies. But when I would hear postpartum depression, I would think of the most like extreme scenario, right? Like someone who wants to like kill themselves or their babies or hurt themselves, like, and their baby. And that's just like what I assumed postpartum depression was. So I didn't look into it before having a baby. I didn't do any research, nothing. I just kind of shrugged it off like, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to do that or think that way or whatever. So that was that. I didn't even know that postpartum anxiety was something until after the fact. But if I would have known about that, I would have probably thought to myself, I'm going to get that. I'm going to experience that, because I'm already an anxious person by nature. So if I would have known about it, I would have maybe been a little bit more prepared, but I don't really know how you can prepare for it, just other than the fact like you would know what's going on and like recognize the signs. So with all of that being said, I am gonna kind of pull up just some, symptoms of what postpartum could be. So there is something called the baby blues, which honestly, I was talking to one of my friends about this recently, and she made such a good point. She was saying like, how annoying is it that it's called the baby blues? Like, it makes it sound like it's so cute. Like, oh, the baby blues. Like, it's not. Like, why are we like cushioning this topic? Because I feel like it's easier for people to digest when it sounds like, oh, baby blues. But anyway, so you could experience the baby blues, which is what happens like, right after you have the baby. And typically if you have the baby blues, it like lasts for 2 weeks. If it goes on longer than that, you might be looking at postpartum depression. So baby blues symptoms: mood swings, anxiety, sadness, irritability, feeling overwhelmed, crying, reducive concentration, appetite problems, and trouble sleeping. So postpartum depression, again, might be mistaken as baby blues at first, but it lasts longer and it's like a little bit more intense. So depressed mood or severe mood swings, excessive crying, difficulty bonding with your baby, withdrawing from family and friends, loss of appetite, inability to sleep, overwhelming fatigue, hopelessness, fear that you're not a good mother, intense irritability and anger, restlessness, severe anxiety and panic attacks, and then, of course, like thoughts of harming yourself or your baby, or thoughts of death or suicide. So obviously that's on the more severe end, but it was just not something, like I said, like I was really prepared for. And after I had her, I remember feeling like, you have the baby and they put the baby on your chest and everyone is like, in that moment, like, I just knew that my world was changed forever and we bonded and all these things. And yes, it is like that. And when they put her on my chest, I remember feeling like that, like, oh my God, like, how crazy is this? But it's so overwhelming, that experience, at least for me, and emotional. And then when you have the baby, and then you like are sent home, and it's just like, you went through this whole like traumatic thing and exciting thing, and you're happy and all the, like there's so many emotions, and then you're just like sent home and like, okay, figure it out. And it's just like, I don't know, like we ripped the Band-Aid off kind of a thing, which I get, but then you get home and you have all these emotions and all of these feelings. And I remember my doctor telling me, like, it took 9 months for all of your hormones to kind of reach their peak. It's not just gonna go away overnight. Like, you had the baby and then there goes your hormones. And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So when we were in the hospital, they obviously have you fill out like this postpartum thing. It's like a checklist. And so I filled it out, like you're like on a high, like you just had this baby and you're excited and you're happy and everything's great. And so no, like I just checked like, no, like I don't have any of that. But then you go home and you have to figure things out. And luckily we had support. My mom was amazing, and my sister, like, it was just a really great support system that we had with us. So we were figuring it out. But again, it was stressful. You know, we're first-time parents. I've been around babies before, but it's different when it's your baby. And yeah, it was just really stressful. And I remember feeling like my husband was really like bonding with her and like connecting with her, and I could see it, and it was beautiful and amazing. But I remember feeling like, well, why don't I have that? Why don't I feel like that? And that's when I was saying to him about the fact I felt like I was pumping more than spending time with her and things like that. And I probably cried like 5 or more times a day. Like, all I did was cry. And I just felt so overwhelmed and so drained. And I know that obviously that's the hormones, but it's also the sleep deprivation. Like, that really gets to you. And it's no joke. And you can sit there and people can tell you like, oh, you're never gonna sleep again and you're not gonna have any sleep. And you're just like, yeah, I know. You don't know until you go through it. And the lack of sleep is like a form of torture. It really, really is. So all the hormones mixed with the lack of sleep really just threw me for a loop, and I was really depressed. And I remember saying to him, I think we maybe made a mistake. Maybe I wasn't ready to be a mom. Maybe I'm not ready for this, or I can't handle this. And luckily, like, I just have such a supportive, caring, significant other, because he just knew by the things that I was saying and obviously how I was acting that wasn't me. And he had paid attention to the signs of postpartum and kind of knew more about it than I even did. And kind of thought to himself, like, maybe this is what she's going through. But didn't kind of approach it to me in a way that I would feel like I'm being attacked. He kind of waited for me to say to him that, you know, I don't feel like myself. I feel like something is off. And I need to talk to my doctor, I think. And he just pretty much was like, yeah, I think that's a really good idea. You know, talk to your doctor. Because me saying that this was a mistake or I wasn't ready to be a mom was really big, like, red flags to him, because he's like, I know that's not the truth. So with that, you know, the depression happens, the sadness happens, and it's also like just a really big life change, right? Like, it was just me and him, and now we have this baby, and I don't do well with change. It takes me a minute to kind of get adjusted, and I just wasn't anticipating how much of a change this was going to be. I thought that I could handle it because I had been around babies and everything would be fine, but it's different when it's your baby. It really is. It's different. And then on top of that comes the postpartum anxiety, which I had like immediately. I was terrified of her choking in her sleep. It was like this irrational fear that I had, to the point that when we were in the hospital, I had her, and then we spent the night, and then we came home the next night. I think by like that second or third day, I had not slept. I think I was up for like 72 hours and maybe got 4 hours of sleep in that whole time. Like, I was exhausted because all I did was watch her sleep. I just would stare at her sleeping. And so when we came home, and it was my husband, myself, my mom, and my sister were here for a lot of the time, I was making people do shifts. Like, okay, I'll get up with her from this time to this time, and then you get up with her from this time to this time, and I would make people watch her sleep. Like, you're not allowed to sleep when she's sleeping. All eyes have to be on her, because I was paranoid that she was going to choke in her sleep. And it was just exhausting. So on top of already not sleeping, I'm not sleeping because I'm so paranoid about her choking. And it's just like this irrational fear. I talked to the doctor about it, and the doctor tried to like reassure me, you know, that babies have this like reflux that's built in, and maybe will have the instinct to turn their head when they need to spit up. And so I had seen her do that, you know, during naps and stuff, and so like that kind of gave me some reassurance. But really, it just takes time for you to get adjusted and to get comfortable, really, with your baby and being a first-time mom. And kind of, I would say for the first like 4 to 6 weeks there, it was really rough, and I just remember crying all the time and being so anxious, and just, I remember saying to my husband, like, we're not having any more kids because I can't do this. Like, I cannot do this stage. The newborn stage is awful. Like, I can't. And so then I went to my appointment, talked to the doctor. Again, I filled out that thing, and I was honest, which I recommend, like being honest and talking to your doctor. That's what they're there for. And I do remember feeling like, like anxious about like admitting that this is how I'm feeling, and I didn't want to be shamed, or like thought like, well, why can't you handle it? And you wanted to have a baby. Like, you have that feeling. I think it's just natural to have that feeling and to kind of like want to hide and like not admit to it. But the best thing I ever did was talk to my doctor. And obviously medication is not for everybody, and I'm not promoting that. I'm just telling you what worked for me. But I talked to her, and we decided that going on medication would be the best thing. And within a week, I was so much better. I was almost better than myself before. Like, I feel so much better. I'm able to enjoy my time with my daughter and soak it in and not be so stressed out and not be so worried. Obviously, I mean, it doesn't cure everything, and there is worry and there is stress and anxiety still, but it's manageable. I feel like I can manage it, and it doesn't feel overwhelming, and that like I'm just able to be a happy, healthy mom for her. And that's the best thing, because a happy mom is a happy baby, and that is so true. If I'm not happy, she's not going to be happy. Babies can sense everything, and so she could sense the anxiety and stress that I had prior, and now she's just the happiest baby. She smiles all the time, and I really think it's because she can sense that like we're happy, and you know, in the moments with her, and just soaking everything in. So getting on the medication was the best thing that ever happened to me, honestly, and I would do it again. I'm still taking it because it's still something that I struggle with, and I still have those anxiety moments, and you know, I think that's just normal about being a first-time mom. But the sadness, the crying, you know, all of that, I don't have that anymore. And I think that once you kind of get out of that and kind of get out of that like fog, you really start to see how amazing this experience is. Like, being a mom is the best thing that I've ever done, and she's the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I would do it 1,000 times over. I've already said that to my husband, like, you know, I'm ready to have another baby, which, half kidding, but yeah, I think that she's amazing, and I love this experience, and I really owe it to the fact that I got help, I talked to somebody, I was honest, and I think it's really important. There's so many people in my life that after I admitted to feeling a certain way, then they shared their stories. And it's just crazy how many people do experience some type of postpartum feelings, whether it's depression, anxiety, baby blues, whatever it is. There is so many people who experience it. So if it is something that you are experiencing, or you're not sure, definitely know that it's normal and it's not so taboo. And I wish more people will come out and talk about it. I know that it's hard. I know it's hard to admit it. I know it's hard to deal with it, because there is like this shame. I remember feeling like that, and it's just such a sad thing that you feel that way, and you feel like, I'm not allowed to feel like this. Like, I just had a baby, I should feel happy and over the moon. And that saying that you feel sad or anxious takes away the happiness is not it's not the case. You can be both, and it's totally normal. So I wish more people will come out and talk about it. I hope more people do. I hope that it's something that we can support each other in, and just, be honest and just be transparent that this is something that people go through. So I think that's everything I have to say about it. I know it's a lot, but it really is something that is important to me. I feel like now I'm on like this advocacy for it in a way, where I just want people to be aware of it. I'm not saying that it's going to happen to you. I'm not saying that you need to be scared of it happening to you, but I just think more people need education on it before they have a baby, because honestly, I didn't know what was happening to me. And if my husband didn't pay such close attention or know enough about it like he did, maybe it would have gone overlooked. Like, I'm not sure, but I just think people need to be a little bit more educated on postpartum and not be so naive like I was, and think like all it is like, if I want to hurt my baby or hurt myself, because that's not it. And postpartum anxiety is a real thing. And I feel like, if anything, people probably suffer from that more than depression. And again, it's normal. The other thing I think really helps too, and we'll end on this, is taking time for yourself. I know in the beginning it's going to be really hard, and you have to have support, and you have to have like a significant other or a family member or somebody, but the littlest things make a big difference. Like, I remember saying to my husband, like, you need to take her, I need to like just take a long shower, or I know with the pandemic and everything it's really hard, but just like running to Target with my mom to get groceries, or just like going on a walk around the block with her and my husband. Like, you need to get out and you need to do things, because it can become very much like Groundhog's Day, and you just are doing the same thing constantly over and over again, and it becomes stressful. So taking the time, especially now we're like 3 months out, I take the time for myself, and I don't feel bad about it. Whether it's going on the elliptical, or running out to the store, or going to Target, going to get a coffee, like whatever it is, I am very vocal about, like, I need this. Like, I need to step away for a minute. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that that's healthy, and you're still a person, you're still you. You just had a baby, and now you're a mom. But, I'm still Katie, but I'm also Grace's mom. And, trying to find that balance is really important, and I think that's something that gets lost sometimes. So that's what we're going to leave it off on. Take time for yourself, be kind to yourself, and just kind of go through this transition. The first 3 months are hard, and there's a lot of growing pains that happen, but just try to live in the moment. If I could go back, I would do things differently. I know it's probably a common theme, but you have to experience it yourself. First time moms, you have to experience things yourself. So just be kind to yourself and try to enjoy the moments and soak them in, because they go by so fast, and they grow up so fast. I can't believe she's 3 months and we're already here. So thanks so much for watching.